Welcome back to Property Play. I'm your host, Elena Saradidis, and today I have Virginia Munden. She is the owner, founder of the Buzz Conference. It's Canada's largest real estate conference, and I brought her today here to talk all things real estate.
All things real estate. Actually, we're going to flip the switch today, Elena.
Okay.
We're going to talk about you, your evolution in this industry, and this extraordinary property that you have listed in downtown Toronto. I'm so in awe of you.
I'm ready when you are.
You know, when we see agents, particularly online, and the way they communicate and engage with others online, most agents are speaking with each other or having events for other agents. You, on the other hand, you are truly focused on the consumer experience. You just took me on a tour of this home, and you have truly invested in it so that the presentation to potential buyers, qualified buyers, is met the minute they come through the store or the minute they see it online. Let's start with home. Let's start with this property, and we'll end it with Elena Saradidis. Tell me about this extraordinary property and how this listing came to be part of your listing portfolio.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit of a story, but the best way to phrase it is everyone right now, and I'm sure you've noticed this, real estate agents are having a very negative turn to how the market is.
Yeah, it's gone.
Instead of talking about like things are actually moving, things are still selling, everything is still happening. It's just a little different.
Right.
That's what everyone fails to remember.
Right.
Now, about 2 years ago, my team's about 2 years old, I had everyone start door knocking.
And I remember.
Yeah. Because we've had coffee quite a few times.
Right.
So I was making everyone door knock regardless, but we weren't doing door knocking the normal way of, hi, would you like to sell your home? Because I found it was a little cheesy.
Yes.
So we would door knock for the purpose of helping the community. We own in the neighborhood. We invest in the neighborhood. We are tired of seeing homes sell for below what they should. And that's where this came from. So we started doing Q&As at a local coffee shop every Sunday. We now do it at the end of every month.
At the coffee shop where we met for coffee.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. It's a neighborhood hub. You can come in, you can ask any questions related to real estate. And the real tell-all to the people that were opening the door and talking to us was, we don't care if you sell with us, but we do care if you sell for less than market value.
I love that.
So whatever you need, renovators, contractors, landscapers, whatever you need, if you want opinion on what you should do in order to get ready to smart size or downsize,
Right.
this is your way. And it's completely free. Just come for coffee.
And one thing I love about you, though, is your ability to articulate the value. Every time I speak with you, I ask you the same question over and over again. Elena, tell me about the property values. Tell me what's happening on TREB, what's listed, what's sold, what's conditionally sold, what's expired, what's canceled. You know your numbers. How important is it to know the data and stats of your particular neighborhood that you farm?
I think the reason why you and I first connected was because I was always data heavy.
Right.
When you get into real estate, especially when you are young and you look young,
Right.
people will always think that you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So I heavily invested in figuring out everything I could know about real estate because I didn't want someone to stump me.
Right.
I didn't want to be in a position where I was doing an open house. Someone asked me a question and me not know the answer.
Right.
So I heavily invested in myself learning the market, and I make our team do that too. They need to know the market. They don't need to get stumped when someone asks them a question, especially if it's something that we could have learned.
Right.
So the owners of this home actually came to one of my seminars.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I chatted with them. Almost a year later, they gave me a call and said, can you come by and take a look at the house?
So you're planting the seeds by hosting an event for the consumer, the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I love it.
So again, don't expect you're going to start doing these tasks and eventually you're going to hit traction right away.
Right.
That's not how it works. Like you get lucky if you hit the right house.
Right.
But you also get lucky if you keep following up and checking in on them and coming from a place of actual value add as opposed to sales.
So it was a year in planning. So you planted the seeds. So take us on the journey of how do you keep in touch with people?
So first, they came to me with the discussion of one day we will want to downsize.
Right.
So the conversation after that occurred with, okay, how do we get our house ready for the market?
Right.
Then they invited me back into their home. I made them a list of things that they should get done or should start working on.
Mm-hmm.
So the exterior facade was actually white.
Oh, of this house?
Like the
Cool.
photo over there, it was
So
white.
cool.
I recommended that they paint it black.
Make sure we get a
B-roll shot
photo of that. Yes, in this presentation.
Yes. Then the internal had a lot of colors. Now, customization of a home when you live there is very common, but you're trying to neutralize it when you want the consumer to fall in love with it.
Right.
So we did paint the house, but we made an especial, like we tried to on purpose not touch any of the history of the home.
Right.
So if you can even see behind us, the original
Yeah.
paneling is still there. The stained glass is still
I think
there.
the history of heritage homes lines in their original aesthetics.
Exactly.
But I'm going to assume you painted the white, which really pulls out all of the original heritage of the home.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it with purpose. It was neutralize the space, declutter the space. They had an amazing art collection. We put it out.
Yes.
And then we did stage on top of that. Because again, the way you sell your home or the way you list your home is not the way you've been living in your home.
That's right.
It could be the most amazing house ever, but doing small little tweaks can help amplify what you will sell for.
Yeah. When I was originally walking through, when I arrived, I pictured myself thinking, what was it like living in here from the 1800s you mentioned?
Yeah.
What was it like living in here on this street? And you also had at the kitchen table a copy of a heritage book that outlines the history of this property.
Well, outlines the history of the area.
Of the
it's
area.
actually not supposed to be of the property.
Okay.
By luck, my clients were looking through it one
Right.
day and said, wait, that's our house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's extremely cool. But the way that they've gone about preserving this house
Right.
has also been incredible. Like there's slate roof up.
Right.
And if you look at the roof up on top, they went through the extent of making a pattern that would have been cohesive with the time. So when we go outside, I'll show you it.
Yes.
But the slate roof from across the street, you can see there's a patterning in it.
Right.
No one does that anymore.
Right.
So this isn't just buying a house.
Right.
It's selling a story of, look at the history around the house. This is a piece of art. It's not another home.
Right.
And being able to portray that to whoever comes in.
And you get that feeling when you're walking down, like I parked a little further down, but as I'm walking, I'm feeling the neighborhood. I'm feeling history. I'm feeling heritage. I'm feeling family values. And as I saw your sign, and it's majestic out there, from the detail of the walkway to the trees and just the porch, everything about the way you had it presented. I'm sure
We had our hands in it.
your hands in it to make sure that people felt the property before they actually walk through the door.
Look,
Who's the buyer of this home?
this is the interesting part because we've hosted now an open house. We've done a broker open house event. We've done a lot of things for this home.
And I want you to rephrase, how many people came to your open house? Tell us why
So-
open houses work as well.
So this is the part that a lot of people don't understand. Most agents will go on tangents that open houses don't work. All the neighbors, like the nosy neighbors, are coming by, and agents only host open houses to pick up clients.
Right.
That's what they will tell you in a listing presentation.
Right.
This is why it's not true.
Okay.
We're hosting an open house. How many people came in that had an agent that came to see the property without their agent first? Because they were interested in it, but they didn't want to bother their agent. The narrative of that is actually crazy, but it happens all the time. Like we open house every single weekend. The amount
Amazing.
of people that come in that tell us that we have an agent, but we didn't want to bother them
Right.
is actually crazy.
And then I'm going to assume, take their name and
Yeah, their
email
agent's
and
name.
their agent's name so you can communicate
send
back with them.
Of course, we send an email to the agent and say, listen, your client stopped by our property. If you'd like the inspection report, if you'd like the MLS listing, if you'd like anything, here you go. They seem to have of interest. You might want to circle back with them.
How important is that rapport with other agents? How important is it for you to actually, instead of taking the client and upselling, I'll work with you? Because there's a lot of that goes on at open houses. But you take the information and you re-engage with their agent and you form that strong relationship.
The reality is this, the person that's been working with them,
Mhm.
if they tell you the name, odds are they have some sort of rapport with them.
Amazing.
If they're like, I'm not sure what their name was, I know I've been talking to someone, then
Right.
they don't really have an agent.
Right.
But the person that comes in and says, yeah, I'm working with so-and-so,
Yes.
like there is a huge value add too from an agent that plays well with others.
Right.
Like,
I love that.
we want to work with you to get a deal done for our clients.
Sure.
We're not working against you.
And especially in this competitive market where half is vulnerable, half is volatile because of everything happening within the real estate landscape, it's important to play fairly in the sandbox, because although it's large, it's a large community, it's actually quite small.
It's not just that. Who better knows the house than the listing agent?
Right.
So when the consumer comes in and maybe their agent's not present, they're going to come with their agent at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the opportunity to showcase the house
Right.
and show them what incredible features the home has.
Right.
Maybe the co-op agent, the buyer's agent, didn't know any of this. They didn't call us in advance. Maybe they missed it on the list. It happens.
Right.
And there's no way to fill everything about this house on a listing sheet. No one would know this.
Right.
So we had people come through the open house and their agents call us afterwards. And we're not saying we didn't have the occasional neighbor that walked in. We did have neighbors that came in too.
Right.
But for the neighbors that came in, they also knew the history of the home. They either we grew up with the kids that were here before this family owned the home.
Right.
We've seen
Oh,
this house
that's
for
so
generations.
great.
Like, it's a different story that's being
Right.
told.
Right.
So we had a broker open house. At the broker open house, we had a violinist come and play.
Mm-hmm.
We made customized cookies of the house with
Right.
the actual facade, and we had the house painted. So the history of the home, we're actually all out of the painted ones, so that's one of the printed ones. But
I love it.
the current owner, he's actually a famous illustrator.
Okay.
So art, history, all of it blended together. This used to be a pocket of the city that was predominantly a lot of artists. So bringing components of arts into the open house
And
or
music.
into the broker open
Yes.
house played a role. So we did have a violinist during the broker open. We did customization of cookies of the actual house. Whichever cookies we had left over, we used for the open house over the weekend. We planned that in
Right.
ahead.
Right.
And then during the open house, we invited the violinist again. She played outside of the home this time. And we had an artist illustrate the house from the outside of the property.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Now,
anyone that
will
was-
that be a gift for the new buyer?
that will be a gift for the new buyer.
I love that. How important do you think installations are when you're looking at, creative elements to marketing?
Well, we've had these conversations before. My open houses are never just regular open houses.
Yes.
And the reason because regular open houses don't work.
Right.
Like sticking a
agree.
sign outside, putting a couple signs in the area and expecting people to come in.
Yes.
That's
I agree
the
with
hard
you.
part.
Yeah, I agree
Like,
with you.
They have a full conversation before they get to the door.
Right.
Do not talk to the agent, give fake information, do all this stuff. They have this.
Gosh, yeah.
Now, if we could do something where we shocked and awed someone into walking into the house and they're already mesmerized by, oh my God, you had a tent. Oh my God, you had this. Oh my God, you had this.
Right.
They instantly now are talking to us.
Right.
That is our icebreaker.
I think what's really cool about that, though, is it also, and I'm sure the neighbors were watching, right?
Oh, the neighbors will
They were
watch.
watching. And I'm sure, I'm going to assume they saw the thoughtful care that you put into making this street, this neighborhood, this property feel special. And adding that element of modernization to historical significance, I think is really important. I've seen a couple of modern homes as I drove into the neighborhood, including one just up the street, and I thought, will things change here? Will somebody buy this home and keep it as is, or do you think they'll add some elements of modernization in here?
What I think is the buyer for this specific home is buying it for this.
I agree. I love it.
If it wasn't as well maintained, if it didn't look as incredible as it does, I think people would reno.
Amazing.
But this is the value of the home. The value of the home is that everything is intact, that
Yes.
history has remained.
Yes. And that's a beautiful story. What do you love about selling real estate?
Oh, Very
What's the first thing that comes out? What do you love?
honestly, people.
People.
I love being a part of someone's story.
I love that.
Yeah. I love being able to be like, I helped them move from their starter home into a family home.
Right.
I helped them move from their generational home into a smart sizing condo. I played a little part in that person's life. And
Love that.
they remember you for it. Like if you've done a good job, you've played a role in their life. So how many people can you have an impact on?
I love that. And speaking of stories, when you think about the brokerage you're at, one of Royal LePage Canada's largest independent franchise, Royal LePage Signature with the Slidhams, they've got quite the story, and they're going to be celebrating their 60 years
Yes.
in the industry. So a shout out to Royal LePage Signature and the Slidham family. How important is it to be part of a brand that helps you position yourself as a leader in this industry to sell properties like this? How important is that?
Look, I absolutely love Royal LePage Signature. I think the Slidhams are fantastic.
Yeah.
But what I would say to any agents looking to make a move and being crowded by a bunch of different name brands
Yes.
is the name brand doesn't matter as much as what you bring to the table for your clients.
Amazing.
No one ever hired me because I had a specific name on my
Yes.
sign.
Right.
And I don't think anyone ever will that be the reason that they don't work with me or they do work with me.
Right.
And you know this. I've
Yes.
switched offices.
Yes.
And I've called my clients and said, listen, this is what the plan is.
Mm-hmm.
And they've told me, we don't care. We're coming with you.
Right.
We're not working with you because you're with XYZ.
Right.
We're working with you because you're you.
Right.
So when it goes to picking an office, don't look so much at name recognition. Look at what office makes you feel at home.
At home. I love that.
And base it on that. Because it really doesn't matter what name is on your sign. What matters is how you position yourself in the industry.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. If you like content like this, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. This was Property Play. Make sure to stay tuned for part 2.